Tournaments are such great experiences for me, especially playing in front of the best crowd ever. And
Eala, the phenomenon. We didn't know largely the tennis community a year ago before her run in Miami, and now it's must-see TV and drawing maybe the biggest crowds anyone outside of Alcaraz Sinner in the.
Let's be brutally honest about something the mainstream tennis media keeps dancing around. When Alex Eala touches down in Austria for the Linz Open on April 6th, her very first appearance at this tournament, she isn't arriving as just another WTA 500 debutante. She's arriving as a problem.
When did you realize you were representing something much bigger?
In Melbourne, I saw a couple clips of the lines and the people.
I think the international interest in both of them is so high, and quite a thrill ride for her this last year as well. She had some great results.
A beautiful 20-year-old world number 45. Yes, she just dropped from 29 after Miami. Problem. The kind of problem that makes tournament organizers rearrange priorities and quietly justify why a player gets a level of attention that others simply don't. She gets special treatment. She gets VIP protocol decisions shuffled specifically around her schedule. Treatment that players who've competed in Austria for a decade haven't received once. French players with longer resumes, better current rankings, and far more Linz appearances are watching this unfold with an expression that has one name: jealous. And honestly, who could blame them?
I've only dreamed of making tennis grow in the Philippines, and now I'm bringing a whole new audience to tennis all around the world.
Andy Roddick called her a gift to the sport just days ago. Martina Navratilova publicly criticized the Australian Open for underselling her court assignment back in January.
What makes a champion? Anything. It's the same old, champions don't quit until they get it right. They're the first ones in the gym and the last ones to leave.
This isn't a rising star anymore. This is a phenomenon that Austria is fully choosing to recognize. Subscribe right now, because the details of exactly what happened in Linz are the kind of thing this channel exists to tell you. The full story about why Austria goes crazy starts right now. To understand why Austria is rolling out this kind of red carpet, you have to understand what Alex Eala actually represents right now. Not just as a tennis player, but as a commercial and cultural force that the WTA calendar hasn't seen arrive at a mid-tier European clay event in quite this way before. The Linz Open has been running since 1987, nearly 4 decades of women's tennis. Past champions include Coco Gauff, Aryna Sabalenka, and Jelena Ostapenko. It's a respected, well-established WTA 500 event with genuine history, but it has largely operated within a predictable European circuit rhythm. Serious tennis, solid crowds, professional execution. What it has never had to manage is the kind of media gravitational pull that follows Eala into every venue she enters in 2026. Back in January at the Australian Open, the BBC filed a report describing thousands of Filipino fans creating a literal logjam outside Court 6. A line stretching several hundred yards through the Melbourne Park grounds for a first-round match. Not a semifinal, not a quarterfinal, a first-round match against world number 99, Alicia Parks. Martina Navratilova went on record saying the Australian Open had made a scheduling mistake by placing Eala on that court. The demand to watch her play had overwhelmed the venue's capacity planning entirely. That was January, this is April. Her profile has only grown since. So when the Linz Tournament Committee looked at their April 6th draw and saw Eala's name in it for the first time, the calculus wasn't purely sporting. It was logistical, it was commercial. It was about understanding that a 20-year-old from the Philippines, currently ranked number 45 after a Miami slide, carries more fan infrastructure around her than most top 10 players bring to a WTA 500 event.
But I'm a person, and I feel like, people will like you for who you are if you are true to yourself. And
tournaments are such great experiences for me, especially playing in front of the best crowd ever. And I do my best. I do what I can, and just if I see an opening.
So young, and she's just coming through, so And obviously the first couple rounds, the schedule is so packed.
The special VIP protocol she gets in Austria isn't charity. It's the tournament responding to reality. And that reality is precisely what's making certain French players in the draw quietly furious. Consider the position of a player like, and this is the broader category, not one individual, a French competitor who has been grinding the European clay circuit for 5, 6, 7 years. Someone who knows the design center Linz intimately. Someone who has stayed in the same hotels, practiced on these same indoor clay courts, built relationships with the same tournament staff. Someone whose ranking, on paper, currently sits above Eala's number 45. That player walks into Linz this April and finds that the scheduling conversations, the practice court allocations, the media attention flow, and the general tournament energy are bending toward a woman making her debut at the event. An unseeded woman who lost 6-0, 6-2 in her last match. The jealous reaction isn't irrational, it's the entirely human response to watching the rules of tenure and ranking get quietly suspended for someone the tournament has decided is simply bigger than those rules right now. What makes it sting more specifically for the French contingent is context. France has historically produced strong clay court competitors. The French Open at Roland Garos is their home Grand Slam. Clay is their surface. Linz, while Austrian, sits firmly in that continental clay culture that French players feel a natural ownership over. Seeing Austria essentially suspend normal protocol hierarchy for a Filipino player making her Linz debut, a player from a country with virtually no clay court pedigree at the elite level, lands differently for them than it might for, say, an Eastern European or American player. The special treatment Eala gets isn't just visible in the abstract, it shows up in concrete ways throughout tournament week.
Eala from the Philippines could be the next big thing in pro tennis.
This was a massive spot to be in for such a young talent, to have a sold-out crowd completely behind.
To do well on the WTA Tour. I'm super proud of what I was able to accomplish, but the end goal is to win Slam.
Practice scheduling around her availability, media obligations being structured to maximize her visibility. The tournament's promotional material featuring her prominently despite her unseeded status. These are decisions that reflect who the tournament believes will drive engagement, and every player in that draw who has been coming to Linz for years can read exactly what those decisions mean. Now, here's where this story develops a second layer that most coverage is completely missing. Eala herself has been disarmingly self-aware about this dynamic throughout 2026. On Andy Roddick's Served podcast, recorded just days before the Miami rankings drop, she addressed the shifting atmosphere around her directly. Coming into tournaments, "Now people know me more," she said. "There are more videos of my game online. In Indian Wells, they knew me. In Dubai, they knew me." She acknowledged it without complaint, without performance, and without the false modesty that younger players sometimes deploy to seem relatable. She simply stated it as operational reality.
And Rafa sent me a message, but I saw it like 4 days after.
He was buried in
Yeah,
your DMs.
so I left him undelivered for 4 days, and I almost died.
Roddick's response to the interview itself was telling. He said afterward, "It was a lesson in self-awareness. I'm sitting here at 43 years old, having been in this tennis game for a long time, and I'm going, there's no way I could ever be that pragmatic, especially in the eye of the popularity storm and the responsibility that comes with that position." That phrase, popularity storm, is doing real work. Because what Eala has built isn't just a fan base, it's a mobilization network. Filipino communities across Europe, the Middle East, and North America have been showing up to her matches in numbers that are genuinely unprecedented for a player at her ranking level. When she played at the Dubai Tennis Championships in February and reached the quarterfinals, beating world number 8 Jasmine Paolini along the way, the crowd dynamic inside that arena was described by multiple observers as something closer to a national team event than a regular tour match.
All the emotions are coming because the tension was so high, especially during that second set. She's a great opponent, obviously being top 10 and a former champion here, so to be able to compete with her at this level is a great achievement for me.
Austria has clearly done its research. The Linz tournament isn't operating on the assumption that Eala is ranked number 45 and therefore deserves number 45 treatment. It's operating on the understanding that she is the most talked about player arriving in their city this April, regardless of what the rankings column says. The sporting dimension of this situation carries its own weight too, entirely separate from the cultural phenomenon element. Eala arrives in Linz with a genuinely significant mathematical opportunity. She has almost nothing to defend on clay, just 70 ranking points across the entire clay swing through the French Open. That's a remarkably clean slate. A semi-final finish in Linz alone would return her to the top 30. A title run would push her to a projected career best of number 23, surpassing Emma Raducanu's current 1,680 points with a total of 1,755. For context on what that means, 12 months ago, Eala was ranked number 140. She was a wild card at Miami, who nobody outside the Filipino community and hardcore WTA followers had seriously tracked. Then she beat Ostapenko, then Madison Keys, then Iga Swiatek, the world number 2 at the time, to reach the semifinals.
We're not concerned about anyone else right now. It's Alex Eala time. This is Alex Eala's moment. Our days, our dinners, our evenings are fixated on when she's playing. That's real tennis fandom right there. Love it.
This is so great for tennis in general,
Yeah.
I think, having players like Alex out there. And she's so gracious to all her fans. She spends time with her fans, signs the autographs, takes the photos, and really just shows the Filipino community that it is all about the Philippines. And I still carry that flag with me no matter where I go across the world.
She became the first Filipino to reach a WTA 1000 semifinal, the first wild card in WTA history to defeat 3 major champions in straight sets at a single tournament. She cracked the top 100 for the first time on March 31st, 2025, exactly 1 year before today's date. 12 months later, she's at number 45, heading into a clay season where she's being given special VIP protocol by a European tournament that's been running for 39 years and has never done this for a first-time entrant at her seeding level. The climb has been that steep. The recognition has followed accordingly. There's one more thread to pull here, and it connects directly to why the French players in that Linz draw aren't just rolling their eyes and moving on. The clay season doesn't end in Austria. After Linz, Eala heads to Stuttgart for the Porsche Tennis Grand Prix, another WTA 500, where she'll need to qualify. Then comes the Madrid Open, a WTA 1000 now being held for the first time at Real Madrid's Bernabeu Stadium. Then Rome, then Roland Garos itself, the French Open, where Eala will be attempting to secure a seeding if she can accumulate enough clay court points before May.
Filipina tennis ace Alex Eala has officially broken into the WTA top 40. Alex Eala is set to compete in the singles and doubles events.
With energy like that, you don't get tired, so it was good.
And Alex, so good to have you out here for the first time. How special was that?
Having too much crowd on this or any other tennis tournament is a very good problem to have.
The French players watching the Austria situation aren't just reacting to Linz in isolation. They're looking at a trajectory. If Eala performs well on clay over the next 6 weeks, and the mathematical opportunity is undeniably there, she could arrive at Roland Garos seeded with momentum with a fan base that travels internationally to fill whatever court she's placed on, and with the full weight of Austria's early season endorsement behind her. Roland Garos is their tournament, their surface, their backyard, and the possibility that a Filipino phenomenon who just received special treatment at a WTA 500 event in Austria could show up seeded at the French Open, carrying everything that comes with her, is not a comfortable thought for players who've spent careers building their clay credentials in relative anonymity. Jealous barely covers it. What Eala does with this platform in Linz remains to be seen. Clay has genuinely been her weakest surface at the tour level. Her 2025 clay record across Madrid, Rome, and Paris was 2-4, including a first-round exit at Roland Garos itself. She has acknowledged the gap openly and without deflection, telling Roddick that clay represents the area of her game with the most room for improvement. But here's the thing about improvement arcs at this level of the sport. They tend to announce themselves loudly when the conditions are right. Eala is 20 years old, trained at the Rafael Nadal Academy in Spain, a facility that has produced some of the finest clay court athletes in the modern era. She has a 4-3 record against top 10 players in her career. She has beaten Swiatek. She has beaten Goff's ranking equivalent. She does not lose composure in big moments. That much is documented and consistent across 2025 and 2026. Coming into an Austrian tournament that has already decided she deserves special VIP protocol, with a crowd infrastructure that will follow her regardless of surface, with nothing to defend and everything to gain in the rankings, this is a genuinely dangerous combination for the rest of that Linz draw. The French players who are currently jealous of her reception might find by the end of the week that they had bigger concerns than the hospitality arrangements. Austria didn't just go crazy for a name. It read the room on a player who is building something that doesn't stop at a WTA 500 title in Linz. The special VIP protocol Alex Eala gets this April is the tennis world, one tournament at a time, formally acknowledging that a shift has happened. The rankings will catch up to the reality eventually. They usually do. If this kind of analysis is what you come here for, the angles, the context, the stories sitting just underneath the surface headlines, then make sure you're subscribed and have the bell notification turned on. There's a full clay season ahead, a French Open seeding race that's about to get genuinely complicated, and an Eala story that is nowhere near its final chapter. Drop your prediction for her Linz result in the comments. We want to know exactly what you think happens in Austria.